Hey, you guys, welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on. I'd love to say hello to you. I hope everybody is having an amazing week. Everybody getting ready for the Christmas holiday. Hey, Wendy. Happy Thursday or happy pre-Friday. We're getting closer to the weekend. We'll give everybody else about 30 more seconds to jump on and then we'll get started. Because you know I don't like to hold you guys long because I know you're busy just like I am. But I thank y'all for taking the time to give me a few minutes of your day just to bond, just to share with one another, just to kind of woosah. And that's what I hope Talk About It Thursdays does for you. I hope that it is your place of relaxation, your place of me time, where you can go and work on yourself and be encouraged. So I'm hoping that that's what it provides for you, because that's what it's intended to be. So you guys, last week we talked about don't forget about you. You know, with as many things as most of us have to do in a day, you know, a lot of times we neglect ourselves, we neglect our mental health, we neglect our physical health sometimes. We have got to put an importance on ourselves, you guys, because we are so valuable and you never know, you know, when you're going to need that strength. So it's not good to let yourself get run down, get tired, get overwhelmed, or get sick. So let's do our best to not forget about ourselves. That way we stay healthy. That way we stay whole. So you guys, this topic today is y'all better recognize. You know, I thought about some things and I prayed about some things, you know, how we get in the hustle and bustle of life, and a lot of things we just don't recognize that's going on within us and even going on around us. We have to understand that life is constantly in motion. You know, it's a never-ending cycle of busyness. We're always busy. We're either thinking about doing something, in the middle of doing something, preparing to do something, or we just finished doing something. But we have to understand sometimes you just gotta slow the train down. You got to slow it down. It's for your benefit. And there are benefits to just slowing down sometimes. Number one, it helps you make better decisions. When you're going all the time, you're not giving yourself time to think. You're not giving yourself time to analyze the situation. And a lot of times we make rash decisions that we often regret later because we're busy, we feel rushed, we don't have time to worry about this, we don't have time to worry about that. If you hear yourself saying that all the time, that means you need to slow down. If every time something comes up, you don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, you need to slow that Mustang down. Slow it down. The second thing slowing down helps you do is connect deeper with people. People in your own home. You know, there were times where I can remember that everybody was going every which direction, and it just seems like we were strangers in our own home. You know, don't let it get to be like that, you guys, because children grow up, they move away, and you're going to miss all that time that you didn't spend bonding and finding out what's going on with them, getting to know their friends, getting to know what they like and what they don't like. Because once they get grown and gone, you've missed that opportunity to do those type of things. And connecting with your partner, you know, with your spouse or significant other. You know, you don't want to miss those opportunities to connect because you are too busy, because that's when the enemy comes in and when that third person will get access to your life. You've got to spend that quality time with the people that you love and connect so that nothing can break your bond. They say a house divided will fall. You have to make the time to make sure everybody's on one accord. Number three, the benefit of slowing down. You have more meaningful experiences. You actually enjoy things more. You actually notice things more when you slow down, when you take time to listen, when you take time to just sit back and enjoy something. You absorb it more, and therefore it's a more meaningful experience for you. And number 4, slowing down at the same time will be improving your mental health as well as your spiritual health and well-being, and it will prevent you from getting burned out. You know, when you take time to slow down, you can hear from God. When you take time to slow down, you can sense when things aren't right in your own home, because a lot of times things get out of hand in our homes because everybody's running here, there, and the other. And if somebody would just slow down, they could pay attention and see what's going on, and maybe stop some of those things before they turn into big things. So let's talk about 10 things we better recognize in order to reduce our stress and also have a happier and more productive life. The first thing, number 1, we got to recognize change. Change is part of life, you guys. We may not like it. We may like for things to stay the same, but we might as well get used to it. Nothing stays the same, so we might as well recognize that. And we might as well fix our mind and change our mindset about change, because it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Feelings change. Your feelings change. Other people's feelings change. You know, spending time with somebody can change your feelings, can make you want to connect closer to them, or make you realize that they are not for you. That's what time will do. That's why it's so important when you're in a new relationship. Don't rush things. Give it time, because you may feel like you can't do without them right now, but after you've been with them for a while and you've seen the good, bad, and the ugly, you may be deciding, you know what, this person is not what I need in my life. So understand that feelings change. And when situations change, sometimes people's feelings change. Sometimes people say, you know, this is too much. You know, all of this stuff going on, I don't want any part of this, or I didn't sign up for this, or I didn't know you had all of this going on. So people's feelings change based on situations. Number 2, situations change. We must recognize it's time for us to change who and how we do things if it no longer works for you. You got to change who you're dealing with and what you're doing if it's no longer working for you. So you need to be able to recognize when the situation has changed and it no longer serves you, and that it's time to do something different. It's time to make a move. Try to recognize those things. That way you're not staying in a place too long and wasting time and energy on something that's not going to change, that's not going to get any better. And then 3, when people change, we got to recognize that, you know, because sometimes we don't even see that somebody has fallen out of love with us sometimes, or fallen out of friendship with us, because we're not paying attention. Sometimes people just simply outgrow you, and sometimes you outgrow people, and that's okay. And different ages have different stages. You know, what we liked at one point in our life, we may not like that. We may not like your childishness. We may not like your wild side, you know, as we get older. And so sometimes people change. And so we have to understand that, and understand that negative experiences can change people either for the worse or for the better. So recognize change. Recognize when somebody's no longer in your corner. Recognize when somebody is no longer feeling you like they used to. Don't make people pretend. Don't make people lie to you. Pay attention. The signs will be there. You just got to recognize. Okay? The second thing we need to recognize is when you're out of line. And I mean that just like I said it. Sometimes we do stuff and we know we're wrong for doing it. And you need to recognize that. You need to understand that just because you can do something, it does not mean that it's okay for you to do it, especially if you're doing it from a malicious heart, or you're trying to get back at somebody and pay somebody back. we need to recognize when we're out of line, you guys. And it's good to have friends that will call you out when you're doing something and they know that you're doing it for the wrong reason, or they know that you're doing something to hurt somebody else, or you're doing something out of hurt. You know, that's when those friends that really love you say, girl, don't do that. I know she hurt you, but don't do her like that. Don't repay evil for evil. The Bible says don't do that. You know, let God deal with people that mistreat you. So know when you're out of line. And then know when you get off track in life, when you've made plans, when you were steady on your course and you fell off somewhere. Know when you fell off, and then know how you fell off so you'll know how to get back on track. Okay? And understand when you're off track, a lot of times you cause the drama that's happening in your life. Number 2, know when you're out of God's will. You know, disobedience will cost you later on. It'll cost you your peace. Sometimes it'll cost you the blessings that God had wanted to place on your life, but he can't give it to you because you won't get back in line. And it'll cost you opportunities. You know, doors that would have been open for you won't be open. They'll be closed in your face simply because you're out of God's will. You'll miss out on the favor of God and favor with man when you're out of God's will, and you'll be uncomfortable. Anybody that's a child of God, that knows God and been with God and love God, when you're out of God's will, you are not comfortable. You are not okay with you. So know when you're out of line and get back on track. Number 3, know when you're missing opportunities. You know, fear has a way of making us doubt ourselves. You know, if you're constantly talking yourself out of doing something because you don't believe in yourself, you're missing out on opportunities. If you're always expecting the worst to happen, even before you try and do something, you're missing out on opportunities. Recognize what that is. And then you have to make sure that you stay on track and stay focused on your purpose and your goals, so that when you are in the right place, you'll be in the right place with the right people at the right time for God to open up those opportunities in your life. But you can't be afraid. And then recognize when someone tells you that you hurt them. Some of us are just out of line. You know, we want to be defensive. When somebody says, hey, you know, you hurt my feelings, oh, it hurt me when you did this. First thing you want to do is defend yourself. That is not what you need to do. First you need to do is listen and hear what they have to say instead of always trying to jump in with your side of the story. You're not going to get anything accomplished doing that. If somebody says that you hurt them, you need to be big enough to listen. Try to get an understanding. What you don't understand, ask them to clarify. And then be adult enough to apologize so that you can get back on track, so you can get back in line. And then number 5, you need to recognize when nothing seems to be working out, or if what you're doing is just too exhaustive, if it's just too much for you. You need to be able to recognize those things. And one thing I've learned about people, a lot of times people don't recognize how valuable you are until you have walked away from them. And you let them get out there with other people and get a taste of other people. Later on, a lot of times people will reach out to you and let you know just how much you mean to them. You know, I had a text message the other day from a guy. This is my personal thing this week, and it really, you know, made me smile. And hadn't dated him in many, many years, but he sent me a message saying just how much he appreciates the kind of person I am, the woman that I am, and the mother that I am to my children. And at the time when we were dating, he couldn't see those things. But as time goes on, that's why I tell y'all about time. Time opens your eyes to a lot of things. And now he sees my value. Hey, Vanessa. Now he sees my value now that I'm not in his life. So a lot of times that happens, you guys, and sometimes you just have to walk away when somebody's not respecting you, when somebody is not valuing you, when somebody doesn't understand that you're the gift that God is trying to give them. Don't be afraid to walk away, because you deserve better. And that was my conclusion. I deserve better than what I was getting. Number 3, the third thing we need to recognize is when there's miscommunication. You know, if there's confusion, number 1, if there's confusion all around you, 1, make sure that you're understood. Never leave people guessing as to what you're talking about or what you just said. Because when people have to guess at something, then they go with their own interpretation. And that is miscommunication, because when they repeat it to somebody else, it may be totally different than the way you meant that conversation to be. So it's important that we make a habit of making sure that when we're done with a conversation, that everybody that was involved with the conversation has a clear understanding. Because miscommunications can ruin families, they can ruin friendships. Miscommunications have started wars, you name it. So it's not good to be one of those people that say what they got to say and then just walk off. If you're going to say it, you need to be man or woman enough to stand there and make sure it's understood what you're saying. Number 2, listen more than you talk. We have got to learn that it is so much better to listen to people. You understand so much more about people when you listen, when you're not the one always trying to control the conversation, when you're not cutting them off as they're trying to explain something to you. You know, learn to listen more than you think, because that will prevent a whole lot of miscommunication. More than you talk, not more than you think. Number 3, be the first to admit when you're wrong. When you do that, you guys, you gain the respect of the person that you apologize to. I don't care if they don't like you. I don't care what they think about you. When you are big enough to say, I'm sorry, they can't deny the respect they feel for you. Because no matter what else they say about you, they can't touch the fact that you were big enough to come and say, I'm sorry. There's nothing they can do with that. They can't make anything negative out of that. So you gain respect that way. Number 4, when you lose connection with someone you're normally close to, you need to be able to recognize that when you're losing somebody, you know, that's valuable to you. You need to pick up on that and catch that in the beginning stages, because sometimes you can wait too long and it's too far gone. And just like that text message I got, I'm long gone. But if he'd have caught that when the stages were showing that I was walking away, that I was leaving, then that situation didn't have to be. Same thing with your people that you love and that you're connected to. Don't allow the connection to get so bad that it can't be repaired, you guys. Pay attention. That's why you got to recognize things that's going on within yourself and going on around you. Okay? Number 5, you need to be able to recognize when people distance themselves from you after a disagreement. That means there was some miscommunication somewhere, because when 2 adults have a disagreement, it shouldn't change the way they feel about each other. Not if they're mature adults. But when people start distancing themselves from you, stop answering your text messages, start avoiding your calls, somewhere, somebody's hurt somewhere. Somebody's upset somewhere. There's a miscommunication. And somebody's got to be the bigger person to sit down and say, you know what? I need to know why you're not responding to me. Why are you avoiding my text? Why haven't you been coming by? Why haven't you been doing this and that? Be the bigger person. You know, God is within us, and there's nothing too hard for God. So it's not too hard for you to swallow your pride and say, you know what? I miss that person. I miss my friend. I notice my friend or my husband or my children, They don't want to be around me. Somebody's got to be the bigger person and say, you know what, I don't want this. I want them close to me. So therefore, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to investigate and talk to them and try to get an understanding of what I did to make them not want to be close to me. And you'll get to the root. All people need to know is that you care, that they're not there, that you care, that things aren't the way that it used to be. It's amazing what you'll find out if you just go to somebody and talk to them and clear up any miscommunications. Okay? The fourth thing we need to recognize is when something is at the end or when something is at the beginning or something new is starting. Number one, we need to recognize that a closed door is not always a bad thing. You know, sometimes doors close just so God can open another one. Sometimes your time is up somewhere and the only way God can make you move is if he shuts it down. You know, he don't ask your permission. He'll shut it down to where you can't go back to it. And then you move forward to something better, something that you never expected. So closed doors are not always a bad thing. We need to recognize that. Sometimes the end is actually the beginning of something else. Number two, change your perspective. Find something good in goodbye, you guys. Even, I think we talked about this in one of our podcasts about, you know, even when you're ending something with somebody, let's say a relationship, it doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be mean. Find something good. Find something beneficial for you and something beneficial for that person. You know, sometimes you're just not compatible. Sometimes you've outgrown each other. Sometimes, you know, you just realize that you can't love that person the way they need to be loved. Find something good and share that with that person and let them understand that, you know, this is a good thing. You know, we're doing this now. You know, that way, you know, we both can grow. That way we can both meet somebody that loves us the way we need to be loved. Find the good in the end of things. Everything is not bad just because it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to turn out. So change your perspective about things ending. Number three, stop being afraid of what's next. You know, I've always had a fear of what's next, simply because fear of the unknown was something most of us suffer from. And I myself, I don't really care for not knowing what's going to happen next. But you've got to stop being afraid of it, and you've got to understand moving forward is a part of life. That's a part of progression. And you can't be afraid to progress because you'll never move. So even though most of us weren't taught to be excited when something ends, we've got to change our perspective and understand that, you know, fear is behind us. All we see in front of us is one opportunity after another. Hey, Pam, and that's how you have to look at it. Okay, this door closed. This is an opportunity for me to do something better. Okay, this relationship ended. This is a time for me to focus on doing better and checking my standards and make sure that I'm not settling. You know, these things you can't be afraid of. Nothing lasts forever, you guys. There's an end date to everything in life. So we have to stop being afraid. Even though we weren't taught to like change, we have to change our mindset, because a lot of times when things change, they change for the better. Number four, we have control where we are right now. This is why most people fear that something new. It's because you have to lose control. When something new comes in your life, it makes you vulnerable. It intimidates you. But like I said, our mindset has to change. We need to start getting excited about something different, something we've never done before, something new. You know, you can feel when things are starting to change in your life because you get dissatisfied where you are. And that's when it's time for you to go to God and say, God, help me to be excited about the new thing you're going to bring in my life. Help me not to fear it. Help me not to be intimidated by it. Because a lot of times we're intimidated because when we're good at something, we kind of like to stay on that level. And God is always pushing us to be better and better and better. And sometimes that takes us out of our comfort zone. And when we get rid of the old and we bring in the new, it's an opportunity to improve and also an opportunity to be stretched beyond what we're used to. The fifth thing we need to recognize is protection. You know, number one, God's no is often our protection. I can't tell you how many things I asked God for, how many things I cried over, thought I had to have, threw a fit over, and I thank God today that his answer was no, because I had no idea what all of that was going to entail later on. And we have to remember, when God says no to something, or God says not now, he's our protector. He knows something that you don't know. Everything looks good from a distance, you guys. Once you get up close and once you read the fine print, just like sales and advertisements and credit cards and all of that, you know, from a distance it sounds great. You know, they're only going to show you the good stuff. But it's when you get down there and read the fine print. See, God reads the fine print. So he knows that there may be a trap ahead. He knows that you may not be ready for what you're asking for. So we need to recognize when God is protecting us. And like I said before, number two, everything you have is temporary. So don't get so caught up in stuff. Hey, Teresa, don't get so caught up in material things. You know, God is always talking about us, you know, not making idols, not worshiping other gods. So God is trying to protect you from what happens when you worship those things. That's why he tells us don't do it. Simply because when you worship those things begin to control you. Money will control you if you worship it. You know, people will control you if you worship them. If you feel like you can't live without somebody, you just love them that much. That's why he says he needs to be your first love and love no other God before him. So that's why he's trying to protect us, because he knows what happens when you fall in love with things and fall in love with people. You're going to get hurt, or you're going to spin out of control. Number three, concerning our protection, everyone that spends time with you is not your friend. You have to understand, sometimes people are around you for what you can do for them, for your influence, just for, you know, people to be able to say, oh, I know this one. Some people just like to name drop. You know, if you've done some great things with your life or you're very popular, sometimes those people are just with you simply because you make them look better. So don't get so caught up in people. Don't be trusting everybody, because everybody that spends time with you is not your friend. And be grateful when God exposes people for who they really are. Stop being mad at the people. Start thanking God that he showed you who they were before you spent too much time with them. Because a lot of times we get so caught up being mad at the person, being pissed off and angry at the person, that we forget to tell God, thank you. Hey, Christia, we forget to tell God, thank you for showing me that person was not for me. And we'll spend that time being mad at that person for years and years, when we ought to be just grateful. We ought to be able to speak to them. You know, one of the hardest things for me to do, and I still struggle with it, but hey, Sarita, but nothing like I used to. There are people that have hurt me and intentionally done things to me, and God has made me be able to, I ain't gonna say made me, enabled me. In the beginning, he had to make me do it, but now I look forward to seeing those people, because I can smile at them and talk to them and hug them, and it blows their mind, because they can't get over what they did, but I had to get over it simply because I thank God for showing me this, because I had to learn how to deal with those people, and those people no longer have control over me and over my emotions and over whether I'm happy, you know, if they come in a room. You know, there used to be people that when they showed up, I left. That's how serious it was. That's just the kind of dirt that they did. That if they were there, I wasn't going. If they showed up in the room, I'm saying bye to everybody. I'm getting my keys. I'm going to my car. I was hurting myself and I was giving them power over me. Now, I don't care who walks in the room. I literally went to a table of women one day. I was at a party and I walked in by myself. One of my friends was supposed to go and she decided not to go at the last minute, and I got dressed up anyway and I went. And I said, you know, God, this is a test, because I already know some of those people that may or may not have been attending that party. I said, but you know what? I'm not going to let them stop me from having a good time. And I had made up my mind, when I walk in, if I see them, I'm walking right over to them. I'll let them whisper, do whatever they got to do, but I'm walking right over to them. I'm going to hug them. I'm going to say, hi, good to see you. And I'm going to walk away, and I'm not going to give them another thought. And it was a table of several ladies that, for whatever reason, didn't care for me. I made a point of going to speak to them first, and it made they watched me all night. And I had the best time because I didn't let something from my past, I didn't let people who hated me for no reason, I didn't let them steal my joy, and I didn't let them have control over what I did. And that was a big breakthrough for me, because I'm normally one of those people, I don't like walking into a big room by myself. But God said, you have got to learn to be comfortable in your own skin. You have got to learn to love the woman that I created you to be. And what better way than to walk by yourself? What better way to walk into a room while people are staring at you, maybe whispering about you? That doesn't change who you are. That's their problem. That doesn't change who you are. And I thank God for that experience, because they were left with their mouths hanging open because they couldn't believe that I just walked over and spoke to them and hugged everybody. But you do what you got to do to get that stuff off of you, because nobody should have control over your happiness. Nobody should make you leave a room just because they showed up. You've got to deal with that. And God is going to cover you. God is going to protect you, because he doesn't want you with that in your heart. So trust God, do what you got to do. The next thing we need to recognize, this is number 6, is when something is a hindrance or a distraction. Here we go. Number 1, if it's not helping you progress, it's holding you back. I don't care if that's a person, place, or a thing. If you're not progressing in some way, if you're not growing, if your skills aren't getting better, if you don't feel like you're evolving year after year, you're better at what you're doing, than you were last year, that place is holding you back. That person is holding you back. If that person that you're with is not wanting to see you progress, they're not cheering you on, they're not trying to help make a way for you to reach your goals and be better and sit down and listen to you and what you have planned for your life and what you want to do for yourself and what you want to be. If that person can't support that, if that person is always trying to talk you out of being a better you, that person is a hindrance and a distraction. And we all need to pay attention to our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. This is why. Regrets and guilt, they're hindrances and they're distractions. If you spend your life, if you spend your life regretting what you've done, we've all done dumb stuff. We've all done stupid stuff. We've all done stuff we regret. But guess what? You can't undo none of what you've done. So why let that distract you now? If that's not who you still are, why are you worrying about it? People gonna say what they're gonna say. Whatever. That is not who you are now. Stop thinking about it. Stop feeling bad about it. Stop feeling guilty about it. I spoke to y'all about guilt once before. If you're guilty about the way you treated somebody, you have an obligation to go back to that person, I don't care how many years it is, and say, I'm sorry. That is the right thing to do. And that is the one thing that will take that guilt off of you. You won't have to think about it anymore if you swallow your pride and you do the right thing. If you're wrong, admit you're wrong. If you hurt somebody, say I'm sorry. Say you're sorry. That'll get rid of all of that guilt. But you've got to do the right thing. Grudges and jealousy. Still being mad at somebody, just like I said before. I wasn't gonna let them girls ruin my night. I got all dressed up, did my makeup and my hair. I wasn't gonna turn around and go back home after I spent time looking all cute. What? No, I came to have a good time. I wanted to dance a little bit. I wanted to socialize a little bit. You have to make up your mind to let go of grudges and jealousy. Why are you jealous of somebody else? You know what? Everything somebody else has is not for you. And you need to resolve that in your mind and learn just how to be happy for people. You know, be happy for people. If they're at a level where you're trying to go, that's fine. But don't be jealous of them. Admire them. Encourage them to keep going and let them know that you're trying to get to where they're getting to. Maybe they'll reach back and try to pull you and try to help you along the way. But as long as you're acting jealous and petty and holding grudges and being messy, nobody's going to help you. So there's no point in being jealous of anybody else, you guys. God has given us all enough grace. He's given us all enough beauty. He's given us all enough gifts within each and every one of us, so we never have to be jealous of anybody else. You don't have to be as pretty. You don't have to be as skinny. You don't have to have as much money to love yourself. Love yourself for who you are. God made you for who you are. Let those people do their thing and you do your thing. You be the best version of you and you won't have to worry about being jealous of anybody else. And let those people go that you're holding grudges on. Them people ain't thinking about you. Let those people go and move on with your life. Forgive them even if they don't say they're sorry. I talked to y'all about my experience about a gentleman that really hurt me when I was really young. And he still didn't apologize even after I made it clear what happened. I still had to forgive him. And I haven't given him a second thought. He's been reaching out to me, you guys. I don't want no relationship with you. I was just giving you an opportunity to make it right. Since you don't want to make it right, I forgive you anyway, and I'm going to move on with my life. And that's what you have to do. People are not always going to apologize because guess what? They're not always sorry. Everybody's not sorry for what they did to you. So quit expecting people to care like you care. Everybody doesn't love and everybody doesn't have a heart like you. It doesn't hurt some people to hurt other people. So quit expecting too much from people. Choose to forgive them anyway. A hindrance and a distraction can be a toxic relationship. You guys, I know the heart wants what the heart wants. I have been there. I'll tell you, I've been there. I have loved some people that I look back on now and say, what was I thinking? Why did I give that much time to these people? Understand, a toxic relationship will stop you in your tracks. It will be a hindrance and it will be a distraction. Simply because when you're in a toxic relationship, all you're trying to do is fix it all the time. All you're trying to do is survive. Especially if you're in an abusive relationship. I've been in an abusive relationship. All I was trying to do is keep the peace all the time because I didn't want things to escalate. You know, when you're in a toxic relationship where your partner's jealous of you or you know, always suspicious of you, you're always trying to fix things all the time. You're always walking on eggshells all the time. You're always trying not to stir things up all the time. That's a hindrance and it's a distraction. So a toxic relationship is not healthy for anybody. Negative thinking, when all you can sit up is think of all the bad things that's happened to you and how nothing ever seems to work out for you. Nothing will work out for you because you're just rehearsing everything that went wrong in your head. You don't even leave a possibility for things to go right because you're so focused on what went wrong. That is a distraction. And the enemy loves it when you replay your own tape of your failures, of bad decisions, of things that went wrong. Because he don't have to torment you. You will torment yourself. I've been a self-tormentor in my own life. focusing on everything that went wrong. And God had to show me that I was keeping my own self in my own little spiritual prison because of the things I was saying, the things I was thinking, and worrying about what other people were thinking about me, feeling bad about myself. You have got to get out of that negative thinking. Like I said before, it happened. Cry about it. Let it go. There ain't nothing you can do about it. You can't unspill spilled milk. All you can do is keep it moving. And the next thing that's a hindrance or a distraction is focusing on other people's problems too long. Y'all, be careful when you're a loving person, when you're a compassionate person, because sometimes people will dump all their stuff on you and then they leave it. They feel better because they have piled all their baggage. And I did a podcast a long time ago called Bag Lady, and that's what people do. When you're loving, when you're kind, they will put all of their stuff on you and they just leave it there. They leave you with all of that weight and they feel lighter because they've got it off their chest. They've dumped it all onto you. Stop focusing on other people's problems so much. It's okay to pray for somebody. It's okay to be concerned from somebody, but you have your own life to worry about. You have your own stuff to keep in line. So be careful that you're not getting too involved in other people's problems, because that's a hindrance and that's a distraction, because something's going to go lacking in your life. And then understand that distractions are everywhere, but it's up to us to not let them throw us off track. That is totally up to us. We've got to keep things in proper perspective, you guys. The seventh thing that we all better recognize is danger and warning signs. 1, learn to pay attention to everything. As I'm getting older, I listen to how people say things. I pay attention to how people's body language is, especially when somebody is celebrating something. You can tell who really is not for them by how they're reacting to the celebration, how they're reacting to everybody giving that person attention or praising that person. My eyes scan the room now. I used to be so focused on what was going on. I find myself now, in order to protect my spirit, I got to pay attention. I got to check the room. I got to check the temperature in the room is what I like to call it. I'm checking the spirit in the room. So I'm learning to pay attention to everything, not overanalyze it. There's a difference. There are some people, you could be joking around. They'd be like, no, she said that. She don't really like it. She was just kidding. So you can go overboard with that. But when you ask God to show you what you need to see, you won't overreact. So make sure you're paying attention to everything, because there may be some danger or some warning signs that God is trying to show you, and you're so caught up in the moment that you're not paying attention. And this is why, number 2, the Bible says to always pray. Always pray, because we never know what's going to happen from one second to the next. I saw on a young lady's page, she's part of the group, but on her regular page on her timeline, she talked about how she just turned off her music on the way to work. I hope I get this right. She turned off her music on the way to work, and she just had quiet time with God. And then before you know it, a truck had swerved into her lane on the way to work, and she and another car was able to swerve without ending up in a wreck, with that vehicle. God knows. Sometimes God will tell you to turn all that stuff off. Let's just be quiet. Let's just commune for a little bit. Let's just shut out all the noise for a little bit, because a lot of times he's trying to warn you that something is coming. And he's trying to let you see that that's why you need to always pray, so that you can hear him, so you can be in tune with God, and so things don't catch you by surprise. Number 3, recognize that words are nice, but a person's behavior tells you who they really are. And I'm learning that more and more, as I'm single, you guys. And, I try to be transparent. And out in the dating world, it's a lot of fakers out here, y'all. It's a lot of pretenders. It's a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of you out here. And they look at your age. They ask all kinds of little pertinent questions like, how long have you been single? How old are you? Do you have any kids at home? What do you do for a living? It's amazing. They profiling us, and there's some good people out there, but the ones that are not, be careful what information you share, because some people are profiling you, looking for a way in because they need something from you, and they're just trying to work their way into your life, but they don't mean you any good. So watch out for people with all those flattering words. If their behavior doesn't line up with their words, be careful. Heed the warning signs. And number 4, red flags always appear more than once. And God had to show me that. I look back over my life, the times that I ignored God showing me stuff about people. He didn't just show me once. Hey, Vanessa, he showed me twice. He showed me 3 times. He showed me 10 times. And I dismissed it all away. I chose to ignore the red flags. But anytime there's a red flag, you're not just going to see it one time. God is going to make sure you see it more than once, because he's trying to get you to pay attention, trying to get you to see something. But being the God that he is, he's not going to force you to stay away from something. But he will try to warn you. He will try to show you those red flags. That's why it's good to be in a relationship with God and strengthen your relationship, because you see things a lot of times that other people don't see. You hear things that don't quite sound just right, that other people totally say, oh, I missed that. I didn't even realize he was saying that. Red flags always appear more than once, you guys. We got to learn to pay attention. And then number 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm not going to number it. The next one is, if you feel in your gut something's not right, if your gut is telling you no, learn to trust it, y'all. God is warning you. That is your warning sign that something is ahead that you don't want to deal with. That is your sign that something is not right. When something just doesn't feel right to you, trust it. Your instincts are not wrong. It may not be anything dangerous. It may just be something that's going to end up being a hurdle or a setback for you later. Just because it's not a bad thing doesn't mean that it's something you need in your life. So if your gut is telling you not to do something, don't do it. Trust it. Because every time I've gone against my gut, every time I've gone against that little voice trying to tell me something ain't right, be careful, it's always been a problem. And I've always said to myself, I wish I had went with my first mind. I wish I had listened to my first mind. And that was the Holy Spirit trying to warn me of some things. But every time I go against it, I'm the one that ends up paying for it. And then another thing we need to recognize is that people who gossip will always, at some point, gossip about you. Anybody that'll bring you gossip about somebody else, trust me, they will talk about you with somebody else. If the situation is right, they gonna gossip about you as well. So don't ever trust somebody that's too quick to bring you somebody else's business, because you rest assured, when the time is right or when they need that attention, they're gonna talk about you as well. Another thing we need to recognize is that we reap what we sow. That's why God's word says, be careful of what you do. So be careful of what you do. Be careful of how you treat people, because God's word is true. You will reap in some kind of way what you sow. And if somebody is comfortable lying to you, it will be easy for them to betray you. Understand that. If a person can lie to your face and they're comfortable with it. It doesn't bother them. At some point, when the situation is right, they won't have a problem betraying you. So you need to pay attention to that. The eighth thing that we all need to recognize, for my singles, recognize you are single and you are valuable. 1, being single is God's blessing. The reason I say that, here's why. A, you're in a unique position to grow. B, you're in a position to deal with you and your past issues and heal before you get into another relationship with somebody else. That time of singleness is your opportunity to get healed, to get some clarity about what happened, why your last relationship didn't work, why you always choose the same kind of people, why you keep getting in toxic relationships. That's your time to heal, but you have to take the opportunity to do that. C, this is your time to try things, something new, something creative. This is your time where you can change your mind about things. When you're single, you can start something and say, you know what, this is not me. This is not for me. And you can put it down and do something different when you're single, when you don't have other people depending on you, when you don't have other people to consult with. E, this is your time to build your resume. You know, if you decide you want to go back to school, or you want to learn a new skill, or you want to, get a career doing something different, this is time to build your resume before you have to maintain a household and be responsible for other people. F, remember that your value is within you, and it's not because of who you're connected to. We get that twisted so much. We think that as singles, and it's only because society tries to make us feel like being single is something to avoid. Now I see more people happily single. I see people flourishing as singles. Nothing's wrong with marriage. I applaud marriage and I love the idea of marriage. But I love the idea of a godly marriage and of a good marriage between two people that truly love each other and truly have one another's back. So every marriage is not a good marriage. So remember, your value is within you and not who you're connected to. You don't have to be connected to somebody to feel as good as other people or to feel as valued as other people. You are a force all by yourself. G, now is the time for you to grow your faith and your relationship with God when you're single, because you have more time to do that. You can get up in the middle of the night without disturbing your bedmate or your spouse or whatever, without disturbing your kids. You can get up and sing and worship in the middle of the night. You can walk through your house worshiping and praising God, midnight, whatever. H, you have control of how you live your life. Like I say, you can make decisions on where you want to live, what you want to see, where you want to travel, those type of things. You can do that when you're single. And then the last thing, this is your time to focus and improve on yourself. The ninth thing that we need to recognize, and this is so important, you guys, we need to recognize precious moments in life. Like I said before, we're always running, and time is passing us by. We're missing out on the little things that mean so much. So learn to recognize that time is passing and you cannot make more time. Number 2, recognize that worrying is a waste of time and it doesn't get you anywhere. Either you're strategizing to come up with a solution, but if you're not doing that, sitting up worrying without doing anything or without having a plan, you're just wasting time. Number 3, people won't always be here. We need to recognize that the people that you see today, the people that you take for granted today, won't always be here. So we need to learn to appreciate them now while you have them. Don't wait until a funeral to say all these nice things about people and to tell them how much you love them. You can't go visit a funeral home. You can visit people while they're alive. You can enjoy conversation while they're alive. So learn to do those things now. That way you don't have all those regrets and it doesn't hurt you so much when they leave. Because a lot of times people are so hurt because they realize they did not take advantage of the time that they had with that person. Number 4, don't miss the small miracles while you're waiting on something big. And that used to be me. All I could focus on was the big thing that I needed to get accomplished. And a lot of times I was missing out on how God was making a way in my life every day. How he was making a little into a lot. It's amazing what God does for us every day. And we get so focused on the big thing that we miss the small miracles that happen every day. Sometimes we're influencing people and people are looking up to us and people are learning how to act and how to carry themselves. And we don't even realize that we're somebody's role model. Those are those small things that we miss out on simply because we got our mind on the big thing. There's small miracles happening around us every day. And then work less and create more memories. We all need to do that. A lot of times we think we got to work. You need to balance your budget to where you have some time where you can be creative and you can make some good memories. I understand. I know what it's like to be a single parent, y'all. I'm not knocking that at all because I've been there and done that. And I know what it's like to have to work 2 jobs, did that too. And my biggest regret was I missed out on so many precious moments because I was trying to do everything to provide when I should have just adjusted some things so I could make sure I was in this place and that place and didn't miss things that were important to my children. I made it to some, but I have a feeling I missed out on a lot of things. And once you've done that, you can't go back to it. And if I could go back and change anything, I would have worked smarter and not harder. I wouldn't have allowed working to take up so much of my day, that I didn't have the energy or have the desire to keep up with everything that was going on with my children. But I thank God, that he provided. But I missed out on some things. So I encourage anybody, work your schedule to where you make sure you make time to be there for those precious moments. And then appreciate every single day. Every day is a gift that will eventually run out. People don't think about it when they're chronically crying and complaining about their life, that at some point your life is going to run out. And while you were complaining about today, your tomorrow is not promised. So therefore, we need to stop complaining about our right now, because this might be the only time you have. You just don't know it. Nobody knows the day or the hour when it's your turn. So we need to learn how to appreciate every single day. Even when it feels like a hard day, we need to appreciate the fact that we're still here, because that's a gift. And then lastly, children don't stay small forever. Don't miss out on their special moments, because if you do, you're going to be looking back later with regret, wishing that you had some of those things back. I was thinking the other day, I said, man, I miss, especially this holiday season when your kids get grown, I miss the putting things under the tree, hiding things, putting cookies out for Santa and all of that fun stuff we used to do, them sneaking up in the middle of the night trying to see what was in their packages and stuff. I miss those things. But those are the things we need to cherish, because sooner or later those things are going to be gone. And the 10th thing that we need to recognize, you guys, and this is most important, is when you're exhausted or when you're overwhelmed. This will change your life when you start recognizing when you're at your point when you need to do something different. When you're exhausted or overwhelmed, it's time for you to switch up and change your strategy, because what you're doing is not working for you. It's actually hurting for you. And many people break because they fail to recognize the warning signs that they're taking on too much or putting too much pressure on themselves. And I wrote down 17 signs that you're exhausted, that you're overwhelmed. Number 1, you have trouble concentrating. Number 2, you have fatigue. You're tired all the time. Number 3, even though you want to sleep, even though you're tired, you can't even sleep good. You toss and turn. Number 4, you feel overworked all the time. You can't never catch up. It just seems like more things are getting piled on you and you're just never able to catch up to yourself. 5, you'll start getting headaches, stress headaches, just not feeling good. 6, you'll lose motivation. You don't even care anymore. You're just trying to get it done because you know you got to get it done. Number 7, you'll start getting depressed. Prolonged exhaustion, prolonged being overwhelmed will change your mindset about your future. You'll start feeling like, am I ever going to get out of this? Is my life ever going to get better? I just can't see anything beyond what I'm going through right now. That depression will sit in. Number 8, your eating habits will change. Either you'll overeat or you'll forget to eat or you'll lose your appetite because you're just exhausted. You don't even care anymore. And then some people overeat because eating makes them feel better. And of course, they're not eating healthy stuff. They're eating junk food. You know, they're trying to comfort themselves because they don't know what to do because they're exhausted. They're overwhelmed. And then number 9, sometimes you can get to the point where life is just spinning. You just can't keep up. It's just confusion all around you. 10, you wake up and you still feel tired. You may have been in the bed sleeping for 3 or 4, 6, 8, 10 hours, but no matter how long you sleep, when you get up, you're still exhausted. 11, nervousness. You're always anxious because you're always afraid things are going to fall apart, or afraid that you're not going to get everything done, or you're afraid somebody's going to be upset with you simply because you haven't gotten things done. Number 12, you'll start having physical symptoms. Headaches, like I said before, blood pressure go up. You'll start having indigestion, chest pain, frequently getting colds, getting sick, getting sinus infections, those type of things. You're overwhelmed and you're exhausted. So your immune system is low. 13, you'll start procrastinating. You'll start starting projects and putting stuff off because you can't even focus on what you're doing because it's just too much going on. So you'll just start putting things off. You'll start making excuses simply because you don't feel like there's any way you can get everything done that everybody needs you to do. 14, this goes with procrastinating, trouble completing your work, even on your job. It'll start affecting your job. If you're overwhelmed at home or exhausted at home, that's going to spill over onto your job. You're not going to be able to perform well at your job because you're already tired before you went in. 15, you'll start withdrawing from people. You'll start secluding yourself because you don't feel good about yourself anymore because you're tired. You're not maintaining yourself. You don't feel like doing anything. Friends are going to be wanting you to do stuff. You're making excuses why you can't do it because you don't have time. You don't have the energy. 16, irritability. You fussing at everybody. You upset about everything. Everything that happens gets on your nerves. You are overwhelmed and exhausted. And the last one, number 17, you find yourself crying often or at least tearing up like you're going to cry. That happened to me when our computer system went down at work. It was so many people calling my name, so much going on, so much demand. Everybody wanted everything right now. And it's just like we just didn't have enough staff. We didn't have enough time to get it done. You know, and sometimes you just find yourself just wanting to cry. And you have to ask yourself, okay, maybe if I cry and get it out, then I can shake it off and I can focus. Sometimes you need to do that. or maybe I need to step away. And what I did is I stepped away. And I got in my quiet place and I was like, God, okay, you know what they're asking me to do. You know this is overwhelming. We're already tired. This has been day after day after day. And I said, it seems like it's getting harder every day. But Lord, you said, and see, that's when you have to have your relationship with God. Because I can go back to him and say, Lord, you said in your word that you would never put more on me than I'm able to bear. So obviously, whatever's going on here, you knew about it, and you knew I would be able to do my job to the best of my ability. I just need to believe in myself, and I need to believe in the God that's within me. And once I had that pep talk with me and God, I dried them tears up. I got out there, I got organized, and I did what I needed to do, and we made it through. My final thought, you guys, is y'all better recognize, one, when life is too important to be wasted. Our lives are way too important to waste on small stuff, to waste on nonsense. Recognize that. Y'all better recognize that time waits for no man. You're not getting any younger. They ain't making no more they ain't making no more time for you. Your time is your time. You know, God has your set time. So quit waiting to enjoy your life. Time waits for no man. You know, enjoy your life now. Don't wait on people to enjoy your life. Don't wait on being in a relationship to enjoy your life. Time waits for no man. Y'all better recognize that there's 24 hours in the day. We got to make the most of them. Y'all better recognize that you better stop worrying about things that you cannot control. You better start giving those things to God. Life is a journey. Make a point of trying to enjoy and appreciate every step of the way. It's all about the journey, you guys. You know, life is a marathon. It's not a race. God intends for us to have joy, peace, abundance. He wants you to enjoy your life. You have to make a point to enjoy the journey. Thank you guys for watching. I pray y'all have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. I love you guys, and I will see y'all next week. Take care. Bye.